I'm Joanna, and today we're going to show you how to build this FIRST Robotics battery cart. This battery cart is specifically designed to be easily loaded by one person in and out of vehicles. It navigates curbs and stairs with ease.
I'm going to work you through the materials that we're going to need for this build. The first thing we have is a 4x4 piece of plywood. This is birch. It's 3/4 inch and it's 7 ply. We recommend 7 ply because there's not going to be a lot of bending in the material, and that's really important if you want a sturdy battery cart. We got some 2x4. Any 2x4 will work. We got some 1x1 square cut. And we have some 1/2 inch steel rod. We'll use this for the axle. We'll also need some axle caps for the ends of the rod. Then we have some wheels. Any wheels will work. Lawnmower wheels, anything really. We have Colson's from McMaster. These are really good. You're going to want some miscellaneous hardware. We'll cover this when we go through the build. Power strip. We have a metal power strip that has a 10-foot cord. You want a long cord. If you don't have a long cord, it's going to suck. Charger. We have these. These are from AndyMark. Dual Pro Model 3. You're going to want these. These are like the best chargers you can get for FIRST. And yeah, that's about it for the materials.
So right now we just marked the 12-inch piece for the back of the battery cart. We have our plans right here, which will be in the description below. And we're about to go to the table saw to cut it. So now we cut out all our blanks, so now all that we need to do is do the detailing on the wood. So we're going to drill the holes and cut out all the angles.
So this is a 30 angle cut, so we used a stop block so we can quickly flip this over and get the same exact angle. Now we're cutting the 2x4 for the axle support. Now we're putting a 45-degree angle on the axle blocks, and so to do that, we have to take out the miter saw. We have to pivot it to 45 degrees.
Okay, so now we're going to drill the axle hole in the axle block. So we're starting with the pilot hole, that way it's easier to drill the 1/2 inch drill bit. So now we're going to drill the bigger hole for the axle, and we're going to drill halfway in on both sides and then clean it out at the end. So now we're going to set up to drill the handle holes. So we have an 1.25 inch drill bit, and you always want to check Forstner bit. Yep, 1.25 inch. So now we also have this piece of wood on the bottom, that way we don't blow out the hole, so we get some nice handle holes.
We are now ready to use the jigsaw to take out some of the remaining features.
Now that we're done machining all the pieces, we're going to soften all the edges with a router. Before we do that, we're going to mark all the edges like we have on our sheets that are highlighted that need to be routed.
We're going to soften the edges using a 1/4 inch roundover bit on the router table.
So now we're making the battery spacer ledges. So we need to make 14 of these and with a 10-degree angle on them. So here we go.
Now we're cutting our wedge pieces for the bottom of the battery cart, and what we have is we have a 10-degree piece in our cross-cut sled, and what we're going to do is we're going to pretty much cut this to a 10 degree, and then that's going to be the wedge for the battery cart. So now we're actually going to go through the process of gluing the pieces to the side of the battery cart. And one of the things we've done is we put a 3/4 inch piece of plywood right here just to make sure we have the proper spacing off from the side. So the first piece I'm going to do is our wedge piece at the very bottom. And pretty much we have this great tool called the Glue Bot. It's really easy to use. Pretty much it allows you to just apply glue without tipping the glue bottle at all. So I can just apply it like this. Make sure you get enough glue. Don't do too little. It's better to have too much than too little. Okay, and then another tool that we have is this cool tool called the Silly Brush, and essentially this allows us to spread the glue all across the piece very evenly. So that way we have really good coverage. Okay, so now we have that. We're going to set the piece the side of our battery cart. And you want to make sure that it's in the right spot because it will want to slide around a lot when you put the glue, because there's glue under it and it's going to slide. And then we're going to use a nail gun. If you don't have a nail gun, you can use just hammer and nails, but since we have a nail gun, we're going to use it. Yeah, that's the first piece. And then what you would do after that is take your battery jig, set this right here. Obviously I don't want to glue it to the board, so I'm not going to just do that. And then you're going to do your next piece, and then your next one, and then your next one, and then your next one.
So now that we're on the divider side, you're going to set up the bottom block a little bit different. Now it's going to be flush with the bottom of the divider. So you're going to set it up like that. You're going to grab your glue like normal.
Before we start assembling the cart, we need to make sure that the FRC battery fits. And as we can see, it fits perfectly in the design.
So now we are connecting the foot to the back, and it is important to make sure you put the back on top of the foot so that the foot is on the bottom. And so this is going to go at a 90-degree angle here. So you can use a 90-degree angler to help clamp it. We are going to go ahead and glue down here.
Next up, we're going to do the side panel. Again, we're just going to glue where our walls will be, where the back and where the floor will be, pretty much. Because it's going to sit like this in here. Right? So we're going to glue where those walls touch. Okay, so now that we got the walls in, the floor in, everything's all flat, everything's good, we're going to make sure that our dividers line up, and it looks like they line up pretty well. We're a little bit off on some of them, but it's pretty perfect, not gonna lie. And then, so now that we've got that, we have our second battery jig, which is the width of the battery, and we're going to put this in right here, and that's pretty much the width of our battery. And if we do it down here, then we can line up where this wall is going to be, where we're going to need this wall to be, so that way we can nail it from the back, from the floor. So we're going to nail the divider in from the floor right here. We're going to do that by first gluing this, and then we're going to know that the center of this divider is 5 inches from this wall, and then we're just going to put nails on that line.
Use this jig, which is the width of the battery, a little bit bigger, for some wiggle room. So then we're going to put it here, and then squeeze this as hard as possible, and then take that out, still holding that down, and then we put it at the top, same thing, do that, and then we draw a line, another line in between all these, so that we know where to put our glue.
Okay, so now we're going to do the same 5 inches, except we're doing it from this wall this time, and we're doing it on the back.
So the last step before putting in the wedges is we put in the last wedge. This we have to sort of MOV in the moment, because obviously there's going to be some amount of error throughout this whole thing. So you take your little wedge here, you put it here, and then you see what size you need to cut off. So now we're installing the lower shelf. So we already marked on the sides of where we need to put the nails. So we're just going to glue.
At this point, we pretty much have the whole thing assembled, and we're just going to throw some batteries in it.
So now we're going to install the power strip mount. We also added this little block just to help with the top of that. So let's install it. And now this one. I already drew the marks to where I need to nail and where it needs to be. I did that prior to doing this. So now we're going to install the power strip. It has a 10-foot cord, which we highly recommend. It's very helpful. I'm going to take it out of the box. So now we're going to secure it with 2 small sheet metal screws. Okay, so now we're going to put in this little block to support this shelf that we're about to install. Okay, so now I'm going to put on the top. So this cord routes through this slot, and then I push it in. And then I can push some of it through this long space here to store it. And now I'm just going to drill it in.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to attach the axle to the battery cart, because it's the next step. So first of all, we're going to put the axle through the actual axle blocks, because if you don't do that, then they won't line up and you'll have a mess. So once you get these on, you know they line up. Make them flush. And we're going to glue them, and then we're going to staple 3 staples into the walls. So
Okay, so now we're going to put on the skid block. So same procedure as always.
So what we're going to do now is, now that we have the entire battery cart put together, essentially we're going to make it more durable and structural by sinking some deck screws in the various parts of the cart. Where we're going to start is with these wheel blocks, the axle blocks, and first I'm just going to drill a pilot. So I have my points already marked. And we're just putting 2 2 into the quarters of each axle block. Put my deck screws in. We're using 1 5/8 deck screws.
Okay, so now that we have our axle in, we need to figure out the length of it, because obviously we don't need it this long. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our wheel assembly and put it on each end, and then we're going to count for the axle cap to see how much we need, and that's about right. And then we're going to also put it on the other side. Account for that little cap. And then I'm going to mark it with a paint pen. And after the paint pen, I'm going to take a scribe. So now that we have that mark, I'm going to take this off. It's time to cut it.
So for some extra insurance, what we're going to do is we're going to put some heavy-duty construction adhesive on the cracks of the wheel blocks. We're using liquid nails. It's pretty good. So, yeah.
So we noticed over time that the bottom of the battery cart can get pretty scuffed up. So we're going to add these 2-inch furniture sliders to the bottom. Now we're just going to peel and stick down the area. So now we're just going to countersink the holes that we'll put the chargers through. So now we're going to install the Dual-Po 3 triple charger from AndyMark. So you're going to have it in where the cords are at the bottom, and they're going to come around like that. And you're just going to hang it from the top two. So now you're going to separate the chargers from the cord, the plug cord. You're just going to run it up through here and then through that slot above the extension strip or the power strip. And you're just going to run it up through there, and then we can go ahead and plug it in. There we go. And now let's move on to installing the second charger. So again, all the cords are going to go to the right, to the right, and then down, right down in there. Out of your way a little bit. There we go. And then you're just going to put the top 2 screws in. From this one. And run it back up through that little gap that we made. Go, run it up, and then plug her in. And just move these to the side. Oh, and then what's a great thing about these chargers is it comes with the exact plug it is used to charge the first batteries, which is really great. Now we're going to install the cord keepers. So you got to make sure that the cord for the third charger, which would be that one, is in the third slot down. The second charger in the second slot, first charger in the first slot. And you're just going to put it in, make sure the cords are all messed up. We'll organize them in there later. Going to get those, and then let's get these ones. 3, 2, 1, awesome. So third charger there. Again, second charger there. We labeled these prior to the video just so that we're all organized and good. And then these are going to run to the side like that, down in there. like so. Then let me get this to the height. Now we're going to do some wiring cleanup. So we're just going to take a zip tie, and we bunched all these together. And we're just going to zip tie these. Just zip tie that, and then when you push them down, you don't want to push them all the way down because you want to leave some room for the main wire, the 10-foot wire from the extension cord. Cut those, and then just squish them down. There we go. And then same thing on this side. And again, especially with this top one, you don't want to squish it down all the way because it could interfere with the main cord. And then we made these doors, so we're just going to put these doors right at the top, push them down.
Okay, so one of the last steps we're going to do is we're going to put these wheels on. We have Colson's here, these are pretty good. We're going to slide them out like this. We take our axle caps, put them here. You don't want to vice grips, that way you don't hit your fingers. So put them here, just hit them with a hammer. And your wheels should be on, and we should be able to roll this thing around now. And there you go.
So now that we're done with most of the construction, the last step would be to paint it. We would recommend painting it before you add the wheels and the chargers, but we just didn't do that step yet. Our favorite paint is the Behr 2-in-1 primer and paint. It's really good with the semi-gloss. It makes it look like there's not as many mistakes. Some other key attributes of this battery cart is the cord is retainable, as we said, so you can pull it out. And then we also have availability to charge your phone in a tournament. You can also permanently mount another battery charger to the top, and you can again loop it through that little gap there. And there's also a D-ring at the bottom of this, so you can retain it with a bungee cord for travel. I hope you enjoyed this video on this easy way to build a battery cart with easy tools. And we can't wait to see your designs or this design in the upcoming season. Thank you!